All right. Well, welcome everybody to our Essentials webinar. My name is Aaron, and I'm the VP of Customer Success here at commonsku. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how you're able to scale and ultimately use commonsku efficiently. I've been with commonsku for about 10 years, and I've worked with distributors of all different sizes. And some would call me a platform expert. I don't know if that's true. But I work a lot on the process side of things in commonsku now with some of our biggest clients. So I'm going to try and tell you a little bit about how you could be utilizing the platform right now, both from a order management side of things, and we'll dig into some other power feature type things as well. So for everybody to give you like a really quick agenda on what we're going to talk about today, we're going to run through kind of like three different sections real quick. We're just going to talk about the overall flow of orders in commonsku. Odds are, if you're in this webinar, you are using either one or two portions of our order management flow, but not absolutely everything. So I'm going to run through that really briefly in the first like 10 minutes here to just talk about, you know, why everything flows together, why it's a good idea that you should be kind of utilizing all the different steps inside of commonsku and how it all kind of moves as you are looking to scale your team. And then we're going to move into some power features. These are always kind of customer favorites of things to just help you do things faster in the platform. And ultimately, being faster allows you to hopefully scale a little bit more and free up your time for a little bit more sales. And then at the end here, I'll just highlight a couple of other kind of more advanced-ish features, not on the advanced package, but just kind of more in-depth features and give you some resources on where you can learn about those things. And yeah, we'll make sure we touch on that. And I'll try and leave a little bit of time that if we do have any questions or anything like that, feel free, throw them at the bottom in the Q&A section. And I'll do my best to leave 5, 8 minutes at the end to answer any questions that people have. So first, let's just talk about the overall flow. Like I said, if you're on this webinar, odds are that you're using kind of a portion of the commonsku platform right now and part of our order management flow. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what that looks like and ultimately why you want to try and use as much of it as possible. More often than not, inside of commonsku, when we talk to distributors that are either joining the platform or new to the platform, is that your system is pretty fragmented. You're working maybe some presentations and decks out of PowerPoint or Canva or something else. You're pulling and grabbing links and sending those out to the customer for a bunch of ideas. Or you're, just sending a classic email or a PDF that you're building out yourself. And then from there, you're taking that information. And then when the client says, hey, I want this, you're going and keying it into, maybe you're keying that into commonsku now, and you're just doing that at the order level. Or maybe you're doing the deck in commonsku, and then you're keying your order into QuickBooks, right? So what we want to do, and the first thing we want to talk about is just the efficiency of your process. And that really does come from trying to use commonsku from very beginning of the ideation process all the way through to invoicing. So as you know by now, everybody on this webinar is a commonsku user. So as you know by now, commonsku has kind of projects that are based, and the project concept is that it's a folder. Everything goes in the folder in commonsku, your presentation, your quote, your order, your POs, your invoices, all of that stuff, right? So um, we always want to start something off as a project, but we want to be utilizing as much of that as possible. On the project itself, we have the project overview, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of things here to try and help keep people organized. The main couple of things that we find people utilize in here is this note section in the middle. And this has actually gotten a revamp a little bit over the course of last year and a bit. So you do have the ability to log in notes here, but you also have the ability to tag other team members, which will send them a notification. So if I want to tag Erin on something, I can do that. I can also create a task for her or for somebody else and have that pass through both as a notification and onto their individual dashboards. So using this kind of note section has always been in our platform, but when we talk about scaling and efficiency, this is kind of where it starts, that your communication is streamlined through one place. And that really is kind of the overview note section here. And a couple of things that are new with this are you do have the ability to pin notes. So if there is a really important note about this project, something about this, you do have the ability to go in and write that note in here. And then you can simply just tap on the pin here, and that's going to always put that note to the very top of your project. Okay. So this is kind of where that efficiency starts, trying to streamline stuff right through here from the beginning at the top of the overview. Something else that's kind of new within our platform over the last little while is this file section. And your file section here is a project specific file section. And so this is really, so if you do have things like dropship lists or project specific artwork that is just a one-off and your customer's not going to use that again, you can go and you can drop that into this section. And the newest part of this that came out I believe a couple of months ago, is that you now have the ability to not only have all of your files just saved within this project, but you can go and you can create subfolders within the project as well. So if this is a pretty big project, I can go and I can say, okay, I want all my art files to go in here. I want my dropship lists to go in here. And I can start to break that out. So now you have the ability to have like your top level folder, and then you have those subfolders within your project as well. So talking about keeping things clean, organized, right? The more organized and streamlined we can make this, the easier it is to work through the project. We're not having to find information in different places. This is where it all starts, is at the project overview with your files, with your communication. Now, I want to talk a little bit about presentations. Our presentations have continued to evolve over time, and I'm going to be very honest with you, it's going to continue to evolve over the course of the next year as we have some stuff planned for how these look and how they function coming a little bit later this year. But on the presentation, if you're not using this now and you are pulling down files or you're pulling down links from sites or through PowerPoint, I really urge you to go through and try and work through the presentation. Now, the presentation itself is just a spot where you can go through and actually build out your deck, right? So you can see I have a whole bunch of items in through here. We're going to get into some power features here, specifically about the presentation in a minute. But we want to go through here. We want to be able to add this presentation through because ultimately we want to have all of our items in here in a nice clean way for your customer to be able to see them at different price points, at different cost columns, right? So we can go through, we can build that out. We have the ability to throw in our titles and kind of break that up by different categories is really what a title is. If you're unfamiliar with titles and how I did that, it's just a simple right click and selecting a title. It drops it in for us at the top. But this is where it starts, the ideation phase. So instead of going and pulling those links from somewhere else, making sure that we're connecting our ESP, our Sage, or if you want, using Distributor Central to be able to search directly from here. Now, this is a bit of a sneak peek, but this is something that I have on my system right now that you will not see quite yet. This is a feature that's coming out a little bit down the line, but these are connected plus AI recommendations. So one of the features that we are playing with on the ideation side is being able to make AI recommendations to you and your team when they're trying to build out a presentation. So what that looks like is kind of on this screen, it's suggesting a bunch of different ideas for similar items or items that were used for this client or similar presentations before on my system. And we're actually using AI to anonymize the data. This is specific to your instance, but then suggest ideas that might work for this client based off of what you've put in, what's worked for them before, and really what's got converted over into a sales order and into a purchase order. So what are those highly sellable items, right? This feature that is coming down the road, like I said, it's in, we're testing it out right now, but this feature really works the best if you're making sure that you're building those texts in commonsku, you're building your orders, cutting your POs, because that's where we're getting the data from. Like, what are those highly sellable items? So your team's not spending a bunch of time, or if your team is just you, you're not spending a bunch of time searching ESP or Sage or Distributor Central to try and figure out what you should be showing the client. Let us do some of that work for you. So where this all starts, we got the streamlined communication at the top level in your overview. And then we're starting to build out the ideas for your customer in here, right? So we're adding products in. If you are already doing this, great. If you're not doing this already, I would definitely take a look, right? This is where a lot of business can be had. If you're not sending decks out to customers, sending ideas out to customers, you're just putting orders into commonsku and that's it, right? This is where you can start suggesting ideas for things that your customer might have coming up, or just sending them some ideas on like, what are some cool items coming up from suppliers right now to try and grab some business that you may not know actually exists yet. So then we talk about kind of the efficiency flow in commonsku. So once we have this in here and we send this beautiful, nice looking presentation to the customer and they want to order something, we're not having to go and manually move that over, right? We're just going and we're clicking the actions button and we're creating a sales order of this and selecting whichever items it is that we actually want, um, that our client actually wants to order off of this. This is something that almost everybody should be doing on commonsku, where we're not having to key this in somewhere else. I can go and convert this over. I'm just typing in quantities of whatever I want, and then I'm converting that over. No rekey, not having to start from scratch somewhere else, right? We're just moving that forward. So if we move that forward into the sales order, right now we've started to, we've removed that rekey out of our process, and then we're going through and we're able to build out all of the details of the product in here. So trying to keep this consistent with what the client sees, having your sales order here where you can go and you can send this out to your customer. You can fill out all of the details on the item, right? We can fill out our sizes, our colors, we can add in our artwork, all of those things. And then we can go and we can send this out to the customer for approval. So we can send them a nice looking sales order, something that's consistent with the presentation that they saw. Or if you're only sending out orders, creating a presentation that is consistent with what their orders look like, right? So thinking about what your end client experience is probably more important than ever now. So thinking about if you are only doing a portion of things in commonsku, that by building out the deck and then building the order and invoicing the customer, they're getting a consistent experience, which is ultimately just a more pleasant client experience. So if you are doing sales orders already, obviously you can go through, you can cut the sales order through here, and send that out to them. Now, when you send out the sales order, they do have that option if you've sent it out for the client to approve it. One of the biggest things about scaling, and something that I'm probably going to say another 15 times in the 15 minutes we have left on this webinar, is just being efficient, trying not to redo things over and over again. So right now, if you're sending out orders out of commonsku, in commonsku, maybe you're emailing this order to yourself and then sending it to the customer as well, right? We want to cut out steps. Every one of those things is an additional step that's taking your time away from doing other more important things like selling. So moving that presentation into an order and filling out the details on here, and then even getting your client to approve the order through here is another step, right? Removed out. It's not a separate email, then the customer's emailing you back, and you're having to go and find the order, and then you're having to go and like move it on to the next step. If you can teach your clients to go through and actually approve the order directly through here, then at that point, it's going to send you that email notification directly, and then it's going to give you a link directly back to the order. Clients approved it. The status of the order then is automatically moved to approved. And then from there, we can continue on, right? We move down to the shipping area. We're filling out shipping for our items. And then ultimately, we're going through and cutting our POs out of there and then emailing the POs out. Believe it or not, there are teams out there right now who maybe aren't doing all this, and maybe that's you, and I think that's okay. But the biggest part is don't get complacent with what you know on commonsku and push yourself to continue to learn. So if you're not cutting your POs, for example, right? Think about the number of steps it's taking to have to go and actually key all that information in somewhere else, and then the potential loss of information, manually typing that stuff in, the time that that's taking, even if it's only a couple of lines, is doing that multiple times throughout a day is a big loss and ultimately not a scalable process. So thinking about the number of rekeys you're eliminating, going from a presentation, converting that into an order, filling out the details in here, not having to do the manual key, pulling the information through here, filling out your shipping and cutting and sending your POs are all massive, massive time savers to allow you to focus on other things. Aside from that, you also have the ability then to go and manage these POs from a single spot. Now, I'm not going to say that if you are a 1, 2, 3 person distributor or whatever, and everybody's managing their own POs, you do not necessarily need to use the production report for absolutely everything. But it gives you a central source of truth of all of your purchase orders what stage they're at, what's going on with them right now, and then the ability to quickly update them. So this is probably and surprisingly one of the last things that some customers adopt when coming on the system. They pick up presentations, they pick up orders, they pick up even POs and sending those out, but then they're going in and individually updating their POs on a job. And they're going into the job or the project and they're updating what's going on with the PO here. And they're just kind of like loading a project, updating the PO, loading a different one, updating a PO, which is fine. That's great that you're using it, but we want efficiency. Efficiency equals scaling. So getting used to this operations and this production report is a great way to do that. Now, this isn't a training session. I'm not going to walk you through specifically how to do everything on here, but I want you to go and take a look at this. And if this is not a tool that you're already using, make sure you reach out to the support team or to myself to get set up on a call on how to use this the best way possible, because I think that this production report is one of the most powerful tools on commonsku. We can come in here and I can look up pretty much any project. I can look up any PO and I can then quickly and efficiently update the information here. I'm not loading things, loading projects individually. I'm not doing any of that. I'm pulling it up either in a report or on a specific search. I've got pre-saved stuff at the top and all I have to do is update these stages. Okay, this is going to keep me super organized, just like my communication in the overview, right? Just like minimizing the rekeying from one stage to another. I'm able to update my POs in here, right? If that's where you start, that's great. Just updating the stage is the most important thing for your purchase orders. So being able to update in here what's going on with them. And then as you get comfortable with that, starting to layer in other pieces. Your production report has a whole bunch of functionality, from updating your stage, having individual statuses, to being able to upload your proofs from your vendor and sending those out to customers, to even doing things like creating custom actions on what needs to happen on that PO next and when, doing pre-saved reports like I have at the top. There's so much functionality built into this report to try and keep you organized on the PO side. And we haven't even talked about how you can do things like click on the left and log individual PO notes, but you can fill out shipping information and send out tracking IDs, both internal to your team and externally to your customer, all from one report, right? So thinking about, again, trying to streamline, keep stuff in one spot, trying to keep your communication clean and organized, this report is super key. And then obviously from there, we have invoicing your customers. So making sure that, we're not having to go and rekey that into QuickBooks. If you're on the essentials, if you're on the essentials package right now, right, you can integrate with your QuickBooks Online, integrate with QuickBooks Desktop, but push that information across. Don't key it across, right? Because that's just going to waste more time. This is also where some of these more power feature things can start to sneak in and really help you out. So I know I took a little bit more than 10 minutes on that, but I can't really stress how much it is that if you're not using a portion of the core flow right now, maybe you don't know how to use it, maybe you're doing it somewhere else, but definitely take a look at how to do that inside of the platform, and reach out to my team and lean on us to be able to help you learn that side of things to help you become a little bit more efficient. So speaking about efficiency, everybody likes power features. So let's talk real quick. I'm going to give you just like, I got maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 features in here that I think um, will be helpful. Some of you might know some of them, maybe not. We'll see. So where I'm going to start in the very beginning is I've got a whole bunch for presentations. Presentations is like one of the things where people spend the most amount of time on stuff. So I'm going to give you a few in here. The very first one is you do have a way to work directly with your suppliers. If you're not familiar with this, we have 2 features that allow you to work with suppliers inside of commonsku, and those are called collections and collaborate. So collaborate can be found under the actions menu. You just tap the collaborate button on a presentation, and you can write in a message to all the suppliers that are on commonsku, or you can select one that you want to work with and hit the collaborate button. Basically, you're just typing in like what you're looking for. It's almost like a private message where it sends it to them, or in this case, sends it to every supplier on our system. Now, every supplier on our system has a champion. That champion is somebody who like manages the commonsku user base for that supplier. But then they can suggest products directly back to you. And all those suggestions would show here, and then you can pick and choose which ones you want to show. We talk about efficiency and scaling. That's a great way to cut some time off of your day, right? Nobody knows their lines better than suppliers. So get them to do some of the work for you. Throw what you're looking for in here in the box, send that out to them, see what comes back, pick and choose what you like to throw in your presentation. Don't have to spend as much time searching ESP or Sage, or once that AI feature comes out, you can start utilizing that. Another one that you can be using inside of the presentation as well in terms of like moving stuff around. And I bring this up because I do a lot of maximize calls for distributors, so I see what they're using and not using. A lot of distributors actually don't notice of this button, which is the grid button. There's nothing more annoying than having a presentation with like 40 items on it, and then you need to move the 38th item up to the second spot. So there's a faster way to do that, which is on the right-hand side here, flipping this over to a grid. When you flip it over to a grid, it minimizes all your items into little squares, and then you can go and you can drag and drop to move these around a lot faster. Okay, so that's a really, really quick and easy way to reorganize your presentation. You can still actually go in here and right click and put titles in and all that stuff. But just a little pro tip there, use the grid mode. It helps you move that stuff around faster. Before we go into actually like editing products, one of the other features that I always mention when I do these webinars is a faster way to get items together on a presentation or even on a reorder. So if you click add product in here, I'm going to give you two real quick tips. Number one, if you're clicking add product and let's say that you want to be searching distributor central as your default all the time, you can do that, but mine clicks on ESP. Did you know that you can actually customize this order? So you can actually go in and click more and then click customize, and then I can reorder how these tabs show. So if I want distributor central to be my default tab every time, I can drag it to the top and then done. This is on a per user basis. So every user can have a different setup. So quick little pro tip there. The one that I want to point out is previous orders. The biggest thing about this is previous orders actually means previous like forms. So right now I'm on a presentation. So this actually means previous presentations. So this is my client here, Average Joe's. I can click and I can scroll through and see every presentation I've ever done for them. So this is really useful for two reasons. One, taking ideas from a whole bunch of other presentations you have and pulling them onto a new presentation. This is a way easier way to do it. Don't have to go and copy the presentation, add items from scratch. You can just look up any client of yours here and then look up the presentation, and then you can click on the items to pull them across. The next level of that tip is, if you haven't done this already, create your company as a customer and then go into that customer and build out presentations for yourself of your favorite things or the most common things you sell. So I build out my distributors called Vandalay. I create a customer called Vandalay Promotions, okay, or Vandalay Industries. And then I go in and I can create a presentation of Aaron's favorite apparel or Aaron's top items, right? And I can create and add items to those presentations just for me to reference. And then if I need to quickly throw together a deck for a client, I can do that. I just throw a bunch of stuff, or I just pull this up through the previous orders, pull open my most commonly, used items that I added to this deck, and then I just click to pull them across. Fast, efficient, items I always use, easy. So we've got a quicker way to find items with collections. We've got a quicker way to sort them. We've got a quicker way to find them again with previous orders. What about a quicker way to update the pricing? Same scenario. You have 40 items on a presentation. They all say 32% margin. You want to change them all to 35. Well, previously you'd have to go in and edit an item and then change every one of these columns to 32. But good news is you don't have to do that anymore. You can click on the select all button and then click set margin. You type in the margin, and if you want that to apply to decoration charges as well, and then you can hit set margin for items. And then it's going to go through and it's actually going to run through every one of those items and move the margin to 32. This is key because previously 40 items, 5 columns of pricing. That's about 200 clicks. That was about 3. So we're going from 200 clicks to 3 and a ton of time saved, right? So that's another one that we've kind of snuck in there as well, to hopefully speed things up for you. Now we'll move forward a little bit here in the last couple of minutes, and I don't see any questions in there, so we'll just keep cruising along. But a couple of the other little fast things for people in here that are either new or I find distributors don't necessarily know about. So one of them is if you go in and edit an item, let's say that we need this shirt in 4 sizes, 1 color, right? Instead of clicking and filling out that I need this many, I need athletic heather, I need it in XL, hitting done, 20 of these, and then using the down arrow, copying my line, doing it again. We made a faster way for you to do this. And the faster way is click add sizes and colors. When you do that, I can select my color. Let's go athletic heather. Now this is a promo standards enabled vendor, so I can see the inventory for them for every one of the sizes. At that point, I can go, I need 20, I need 22, I need 14, I need 32, I need 7, right? And then we hit done, and that's just going to go through and it's going to pull in and drop in each one of those lines I just filled out. Now with a promo standards enabled vendor or connected plus vendor, it's actually also going to recognize that the 2XL is a different price and drop that in for me. Right? So using that add sizes and colors is another way to kind of speed things up. The last thing I'll mention on a product in terms of speeding things up, if you haven't used this, or maybe you thought about using it and then you realize that you got busy and you didn't actually do anything with it, is a decorator matrix. This one is one of my favorite features we've ever done. But in your admin area, in your company settings, you do have a decorator matrix section here. That's where you can take those paper grids that you have from your different decorators, and you can create them or recreate them in commonsku. This makes filling out things like apparel so much faster, right? Previously, if you needed to fill out decoration for this item, we would have to go through, I'd have to look up on a piece of paper the charges, and I'd have to manually type them in. With the decorator matrix feature, you don't have to do that. You've uploaded everything. So all you have to do is click on the calculate button, choose who your decorator is, what type of charge it is, and we'll put in the number of colors, and it's going to pull the price in for me based off of whatever I selected on here. Okay. So I know my charges are probably a little bit out of whack. I don't think it's $5 to print screen, but that drops it in. Great, add, done. And I can do the exact same thing for my fixed charges. So if you haven't started to play with this feature yet, definitely take a look. It also works on presentations and is able to drop the decoration pricing in for every column. So it matches the quantity on the items column with the quantity on your matrix to drop in appropriate decoration pricing. Okay, so definitely a feature people forget about, but make sure you go set those up. Again, another massive time saver. And then the last thing I'll sneak in here real quick as we wrap up is 2 new features that we've added in literally in the last month and a half. It both have to do with payments. So the first thing is there is now the ability to require upfront payment in the bottom right hand corner. That's always been there, right? But this allows you to have your client approve and pay for the order at the sales order level. So you can go and you can send a deposit invoice out to them from here, right? So we can go, we can send a copy of that out if we email that out. And the client does have the ability then to both approve the order and pay for the order at the exact same time. So you can have them pay in full, you can have them pay a partial deposit. So you can see we can do approve and pay, and they can go through and pay that right through there. Awesome, right? Not having to send 2 different forms. That's huge. The other thing on the side of payments that we've recently added in is if you are using one of our payment processors like Stripe or Clover Connect, is that when you go and you do send out an invoice to a customer, you do have the ability now, if I want to allow this customer to pay by credit card, to automatically add in credit card fees. This is something that was widely requested by lots of people. But you have the ability, it's in your settings area, in your integrations under payments, where you can go and once you connect Stripe, okay, you can go through or Clover Connect, you can go through and you can select that what fee you want to get auto added to the final invoice. And if you want that fee to be something paid by the client, or if that's something that you're going to be eating, you can switch that. Okay. So another big thing, be able to pass those costs along. Also an efficiency thing, so it's not chewing out of your margin. I know we went over a little bit of time. The last thing I'll say is that if there's stuff in this webinar that you saw that is really interesting and not sure how to use it, okay, feel free, email support. You have a massive resource section on the left here under your resources tab. So we have a very extensive help article section. We also have commonsku University, which has videos and quizzes on the entire platform. So you can test your knowledge in there, test your team's knowledge in there. But you can also reach out to my team by tapping the support button on the left and chat with somebody live. So hopefully you saw something new or something that piqued your interest or something that's going to help you be a little bit more efficient and help you scale. If you do have any questions, as I mentioned, feel free, drop us a note, email us at support@commonsku.com, and hopefully we'll be able to help you continue to grow and scale. Thanks.